Update 2. Am I the a-hole for going behind my wife's back and telling her pregnant sister that she's being cheated on? Link to the first part of this saga in the description. Now for the second update. Many people ask me for an update, and I also need some outsider perspectives in my situation, so here it goes. Before I start, I want to clarify something for the people who kept calling me names for telling my sister-in-law the truth. Why do you think I should have minded my own business? She's family, and if family doesn't look out for each other, then who else will? Strangers? This isn't just some harmless or small lie for my brother-in-law, it's life-changing. My sister-in-law isn't just my sister-in-law, she's my friend. If I hadn't told her the truth, my POS brother-in-law would have just kept cheating, and I would have lost a friend if I had delayed any longer. Now for the update. My sister-in-law only stayed at my place for 2 days. After that, she called me and said she didn't want to trouble me anymore and was going to stay at a hotel. I tried to convince her not to waste her money unnecessarily, but she didn't listen and left anyway. And yes, I am divorcing my wife. After a week of no contact, she called me and said she wanted to reconcile. She told me she was angry that I didn't listen to her and went behind her back. She said she didn't want to break her sister's family and had planned to convince my brother-in-law to stop cheating. But she claimed I had messed everything up. She said she was coming back. I told her to come over because I wanted to talk to her in person. This isn't the kind of thing you discuss over the phone. When my wife arrived and started explaining herself, I told her I was filing for divorce. She was shocked and said we could make it work. I told her we couldn't. I said, I don't trust you after everything you said, and you left me with no contact. I was worried all day about where you were, if you were safe, etc., and now you suddenly show up? I can't make it work. She tried to convince me not to go through with a divorce, but I had already made up my mind. I told her that her sister had stayed at our place for 2 days, and she got angry, saying, fine, let's divorce, and left. I told my sister-in-law that I'm getting a divorce. She wasn't happy about it, but she didn't try to convince me one way or the other. I also told her she could stay with me instead of wasting money on a hotel. She said it was inappropriate, but I told her, either you waste your money and struggle or you can accept my help. So, my sister-in-law and I have been living together for the past couple of days. We've discussed our spouses and their behavior, and we're both pretty angry about everything. My sister-in-law is even angrier than I am. She ended up calling my wife, calling her names, and told me she's hell-bent on ruining my brother-in-law. She is divorcing him and plans to go nuclear. She wants as much money as possible in alimony and child support. She wants to drain him. My wife and I haven't spoken since she left, and we both know the divorce is happening. My sister-in-law, though still angry, has started to calm down because it's unhealthy for her and the baby. She's now focusing on her career and reading stories about single moms. She's preparing herself. So that's all for now. And to the weirdos out there, stay away. Neither my sister-in-law nor I have any romantic feelings for each other. I'm just helping her because she needed support, which is why she hesitated so much in accepting my help. Call me a moral police if you want, but I know I did the right thing, not just for my sister-in-law but for myself as well. Now I know exactly what kind of woman my wife is. Did your wife ever tell you where she went? I find it interesting that she has a place where she can just go for an extended period of time and nobody knows where she went to. She went to the guy who she was having an affair with. He did not want anything serious, hence why she came back. Smart to divorce this woman. I don't know, and I don't care. I had mixed feelings. I love my wife and tried to stop her from leaving. Tried to convince her, but she left anyway. Well, I was worried all day every day about my wife, wondering where she was, if she was safe, if she had eaten. She never contacted me after she left, and her family didn't know where she was either. But no matter how much I love her, it's better if I just divorce her. I've lost all trust in her, not just because she wanted to hide my brother-in-law's cheating, but also because she said she would expect me to forgive her if she cheated and that she would forgive me if I cheated. I don't want that. None of this. Besides, if a pregnant woman can put her emotions aside, think for herself and take steps to move forward, then I should do the same. I need to cut out the toxicity and restart my life instead of constantly worrying. In a way, she kind of inspired me. I'm so sorry you're having to go through this. Not the a-hole, but please get support from whoever you can and continue providing support to your sister-in-law. Wishing you the best going forward. Thanks. I got my parents' support, but they won't pick sides. After all, we both are their children and we are fighting, which is understandable. My mom calls me every day at least thrice to check up on me. Me and my sister-in-law support each other and talk a lot. I am in pain, but her pain is unimaginable. She's pregnant and found out her baby's father is a cheat, also low on money and ashamed to seek help. Yes, she's no longer my sister-in-law, but my friend. I'll try my best to support her. Though she's so much in pain, she's thinking about herself and her child. Women are truly strong, especially when they are pregnant indeed. Next story. Am I the a-hole for considering ending my not terrible marriage because being a step-family just isn't working? My husband, 40 male, was a widower when we met. I, 36 female, was a single woman who had never been married before. My husband has a daughter, April 13, from his first wife. April was 5 when her mom died, 7 when my husband and I met, 8 when she and I met, and 11 when we got married. Things with April were okay before I got pregnant. And by okay, I mean we weren't very close. She didn't call me mom or say she loved me, but we got along well. And she said she had no issues with us getting married. She was even in the wedding as her dad's best person. All was good. Then I got pregnant with our son, who is now 4 months old, and everything changed. She was furious when she found out we were expecting. She told us she would not be okay with it, and asked her dad how he could do that to her and her mom. From that moment on, she became hostile toward me, very angry, and lashed out at me, my husband, and anyone who tried to say she was going to be a big sister or referred to our son as her little brother. We got her into therapy and even did family therapy. April refused to speak. We tried to find a therapist who would click with her, but she still wouldn't talk. Eventually, we found a therapist who got her to speak one time, but she only said she didn't want to work with us or make things better. She refused to say why or answer any questions the therapist asked. She didn't address it with her individual therapist either. They worked on other issues instead, but that hasn't been enough to help her come around. People said that once our son was born, once she saw him, she'd fall in love with him and go back to how she was before. That hasn't happened. She's aggressively against anything to do with him. She has never held him, and we don't have any family photos of the 4 of us together. It breaks my husband's heart. He has talked to her and disciplined her, but it hasn't made a difference. She screams that he's not her brother, and even refuses to call him her half-brother, saying he's not my sibling at all. I can't speak to her at all now. The nice relationship we had is gone, and that makes me sad too. The situation isn't working, and our home no longer feels like a home. It feels like a house on the verge of collapse. I'm not sure I want to stay married and continue trying to figure this out for another 5 years. I don't see any hope for it to get better, and even though my son will still have to be around, maybe having 50% of the time in a loving home would be better. I'd be happier, even though I love my husband. When I confided in a friend, she told me I can't give up this quickly and that I'm not giving it enough time to get better. Am I the a-hole? People said that once our son was born, once she looked at him, she'd fall in love and go back to how she'd been before. I just have to ask, who the hell were these delusional people? Look at him and fall in love. Really? That's something you say to a nervous, soon-to-be parent. These people couldn't have had any real experience with this kind of situation. It rarely happens that older siblings, especially those who are vehemently opposed to the baby and want nothing to do with them, suddenly flip a switch just because they see the new kid. They don't look at the baby and think, "Aw, how cute, I love them so much." They look at the baby and think, "This is the drooling, puking crap monster that's turning my world upside down." Not just that, but she won't be the only little queen bee anymore. My older sister threw me out of the window as a baby and tried to harm me all throughout my childhood. Be careful. No judgment, but I'd be concerned about your son being with her during your husband's custody time with him if you divorce. Just something to consider since she is part of the household. And honestly, it sounds as if you would be giving her what she wants, which I don't know if that's a good thing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to prioritize our family tradition over his new friendship? My husband, 35 male, and I, 32 female, have a small but meaningful tradition we started during the first year of our marriage. It's nothing major, but it's important to me. Every November, on the weekend before Thanksgiving, we take a day trip to a lakeside town about an hour away. We spend the day walking, talking, and picking out a new ornament for our Christmas tree, something meaningful to our year. It's just one day, but it's one of those things that makes the holiday season special for us. Recently, my husband became great friends with a guy from his gym. They hit it off quickly, and I think it's great because my husband doesn't make new friends easily. His friend seems like a genuinely nice person and shares a lot of my husband's interests, like hiking and gaming. I know it's refreshing for my husband to have someone he clicks with so well. Here's the issue. My husband's friend invited him on a weekend trip during the exact same weekend as our tradition. My husband seemed hesitant to bring it up at first, but eventually he asked if I'd be okay with rescheduling our tradition to another weekend so he could go with his friend. I was caught off guard and told him it kind of hurt my feelings that he'd even consider moving it. He told me it wasn't a big deal for us to just go another weekend, and it's right in the sense that it wouldn't really affect anything logistically. But this trip has always felt like our thing. It's not that I don't want him to have fun or make new friends, but I feel like he's minimizing something that's special to us, or at least special to me. When I told him that, he looked surprised and then frustrated, saying I was overreacting. He eventually agreed to keep the weekend for our tradition, but I could tell he was disappointed, and I feel guilty about that. Part of me wonders if I'm being stubborn about a little ritual that maybe only I care about as much as I do. So, am I the a-hole for asking him to prioritize our tradition over his new friend? Edit. I saw some people asking how long we've been married. We've been married for 6 years, and we've been doing this tradition since our first year together. Always on the same weekend. A lot of people have asked why this specific weekend matters so much to me. I think it's because we've kept this tradition on the same weekend for over 6 years, and for me, the timing feels like an integral part of the tradition itself. It's become a marker for the start of the holiday season in my mind, and changing it feels like it would lose some of the meaning behind it. Info. While I think it's super nice your husband made a friend, he's currently blinded by the honeymoon phase of friendship. Does he actually enjoy the trip, or is he doing it because he wants to do it? He's kept the weekend open every year without me having to remind him, and we always have a great time. That said, he hasn't explicitly said how important it is to him or how much he enjoys it. I've expressed to him how much it means to me though, so I'm guessing it may feel more significant to me than it does to him. That's part of why I'm second-guessing myself. Maybe I've been assuming we were on the same page about it being our thing without ever checking in with him about how he feels. I don't see how changing the weekend you go will change the tradition though. To some people, changing weekends is fine. Others need to celebrate on certain days. My wife's father's side does Thanksgiving a week early every year so everyone can make time for their other family on Thanksgiving. I know others that get upset if you try to celebrate their birthday on the closest weekend rather than the actual date. Update after a few hours. I want to thank everyone who shared their opinions. After reading the comments and giving myself some time to reflect, I decided to talk to my husband again. I told him I felt bad about how things went earlier and that I didn't mean to make him feel like I'm keeping him on a leash. I also explained why our little tradition feels so special to me and how I've always seen that weekend as our weekend. He admitted that he hadn't realized how much it meant to me. He said he'd been excited about the trip with his friend because it was the first time in a long while that someone had reached out to him like that, and he didn't want to let that slip away. We both agreed that we could have handled the conversation better, and that neither of us wanted the other to feel like their feelings didn't matter. As mentioned earlier, we've decided to stick to our tradition this year as planned, and my husband is going to plan a weekend trip with his friend in January after the holidays are over. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister to have her birthday party in my house? My husband, 26 male, and I, 24 female, recently bought our first home, and we've worked incredibly hard to get here. We don't come from money, and everything we have, we've earned ourselves. We are very close to my side of the family and see them nearly every day. I've always kind of been the black sheep of the family because I'm the only one who has set boundaries. Anyway, a week after my husband and I moved in, my sister, 26 female, sent me an invitation to her birthday party, which she planned to hold at our new house. I want to note that she had briefly asked me about hosting the party here a few days earlier, and I told her I wasn't sure because we still had a lot of unpacking to do. Clearly, that wasn't a concern for her, as she went ahead and sent out the invitation days later, inviting extended family who live several hours away and would need to stay a night or two. Since we're still settling in, we don't have extra beds or much furniture yet. And my husband and I didn't feel ready to host what felt like a large gathering so soon, especially since we haven't even planned a housewarming party yet. Both of us work full-time and have limited time to unpack, so things are moving slowly. I told my sister that we'd be open to having a smaller, more intimate celebration, just immediate family and maybe one or two close friends. I also explained that this move has been a huge transition for me, and I'm still getting used to the new city and lifestyle. While I wanted to celebrate her, I didn't feel ready for a big party. After that, she stopped responding to me. The next day, I went to my parents' house during my lunch break and my dad came outside to tell me that they didn't want to see me. He said I was being selfish for turning down my sister's request and that I had hurt the whole family. Now my family refuses to speak to me until I apologize. And they've called me ungrateful and a narcissist. I don't know if I was in the wrong, if I made a big deal out of it, or if I unintentionally hurt my family. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. No wonder you've had to set boundaries with your family. It's utterly ridiculous that they feel like she's entitled to your space like this. You'd best contact those extended family members before they make travel arrangements, because it doesn't sound like she's going to. Or at best, she'll tell them it's cancelled and it's all your fault, so you look terrible. The entire family seems like they're a-holes, to be honest. Who in their right mind demands someone's house for their own private celebration, then badmouth to everyone? What a nightmare. Not the a-hole. You never said yes. You said that you would have to think about it. Your sister is the one who jumped the gun and started planning and inviting people. I don't understand your dad's comments about you hurting the whole family. That makes no sense. Definitely don't apologize. You've done nothing wrong. Would not be surprised at all if the parents were the origin of, "Our place is too small for that. Why not at your sister's new place? You can have your big party over there." Update. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be involved in my ex's kid's life? Original post. I, male 35, was dating Elena, female 33, for 2 years when I found out she was cheating on me with one of the dads from her son's hockey practice. Elena has a 9-year-old son. After finding out, I broke up with her and asked her to move out. Eventually, she moved out. A week later, she showed up at my door asking if I could watch her son because she couldn't find anyone else. I thought it was a one-time thing, so I agreed. We played video games, and I cooked him dinner. Then she texted me, thanking me and saying her son missed me so much, and that it was great for him to hang out. Now, she keeps dropping him off. Last time, I told her I couldn't be her babysitter. I want a clean break and a fresh start. She called me heartless and mean, saying I'm the only dad her son knows. He never called me dad, nor did I expect him to. She keeps guilt-tripping me, accusing me of abandoning her child and punishing him because I'm a petty, sad man. Am I the a-hole here? Is it wrong to ghost her and her kid? Edit to add, thanks with her affair partner didn't work out because he was married and his wife found out. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. You gonna babysit forever while she's getting bucks shots in her net? She says my relationship with her kid should be different. I was his father figure, so it shouldn't be affected by my resentment toward her. Not the a-hole. The only thing tying you to this kid is his mother, who cheated on you. Why are you letting her do this to you? You don't owe her or her kid anything. You're a father figure after 2 years? Come on, she's using you and guilting you about it. Guilt only works if you let it. Her and her kid aren't your problem. Let the guy she cheated on you with watch her kid. Not the a-hole. It was a 2-year relationship, and her son is 9. So you're probably not a paternal figure, but more like a cool grown-up friend. She cheated on you. She's seeing the consequences of her actions. She's the one punishing her son, not you. How do you know that every time she dropped her son off at your place, it wasn't to spend time with a man? I honestly never saw myself as a father figure either. They moved in with me 6 months before the breakup. I took her son to his appointments and events a few times. Maybe that's why she got the idea? I have the feeling she used you from the beginning. You don't have to be part of her son's life. If you were together for 8 years, okay, you might be his paternal figure. But in this situation, it's just an excuse for her to use you. In what universe would you be the a-hole? She says I'm abandoning her kid. I'm punishing her kid because we broke up. I'm petty for not wanting to be the father figure because her kid's bio dad is unknown. She really gets around, doesn't she? She cheated on you and she doesn't even know the father of her kid. What an absolute piece of work. I don't know about that. She said the dad was some guy she met in a bar one night when she was younger. She said she didn't like talking about her past. Now for the update. I texted her and said, I'm done with you. I can't watch your kid anymore. Bye forever. And then I blocked her. An hour later, I started getting messages from people asking, why don't you leave this woman alone? You stalker creep. I was shocked. What the hell? Apparently, she told everyone that I'm stalking her, begging her to get back together and using her kid to get close to her. I responded to anyone messaging me by sending them a screenshot of my actual text. I'm done justifying myself. This woman is insane. What was I thinking? Trying to get back into the dating scene after my wife's tragic passing? For 6 years, I was single, and life was peaceful. I'm gonna contact my therapist again. I need him more than ever now after this disastrous experience. Not the a-hole. Your ex is a total drama queen. Good for you for blocking her and setting boundaries. Don't let her mess with your head. She is manipulative and toxic, twisting the narrative to make herself look like the victim. Make a public post and set the record straight. This can do more damage if you remain silent, and if anyone contacts you, just reply with screenshots. Her making up lies about OP is a red flag the size of a skyscraper. Cut her off, but keep the screenshots in case things escalate more. Next story. Am I the a-hole for walking out of my dad's birthday dinner after being ambushed by my stepmom? I, 25 female, have always had a complicated relationship with my dad and his wife, my stepmom. My parents divorced when I was 8, and my dad remarried shortly after. His new wife brought 2 kids into the marriage, and they later had 2 more together. So, I have 4 half-siblings and 2 step-siblings, all younger than me. Growing up, I always felt like the odd one out. My dad's focus was on his new family, and while I was never outright excluded, I always felt like an afterthought. My mom raised me and I visited my dad every other weekend, but as I got older, the visits became less frequent. I've made an effort to keep the peace over the years for the sake of my dad. I visit for holidays, attend family events, and try to bond with my half-siblings. But my stepmom and I have never really gotten along. She is always criticizing me, my career, my clothes, even my decision to stay single for now. My dad usually stays out of it, saying he doesn't want to take sides. Last week was my dad's 50th birthday, and my stepmom organized a big dinner at a fancy restaurant. I showed up with a gift and was genuinely excited to celebrate him. Things were fine until dessert. That's when my stepmom stood up and said, "Since we're all here, it's the perfect time to address some issues as a family." I immediately felt uneasy. She launched into a speech about how I've been distant and don't do enough to blend into the family. She brought up things like how I don't call her on Mother's Day or babysit my half-siblings when they need help. She even mentioned that I missed a family barbecue last month, which I had already explained was due to work. Then my dad chimed in. He said he agreed with her and that it was time for me to make more of an effort to be part of the family. He added that I should apologize to my stepmom for being cold toward her. I was stunned. This wasn't a birthday dinner, it was an ambush. I asked if anyone else felt this way, and my stepmom's parents, who were also there, chimed in. saying they'd always thought I was too independent and didn't value family enough. At that point, I had enough. I stood up and said, "If this is what you invited me here for, I'm leaving." My dad tried to stop me, saying I was being dramatic, but I walked out. I went home, turned off my phone, and cried. Since then, my stepmom has been blowing up my phone, calling me selfish and ungrateful. My dad texted me saying he was disappointed in how I handled things, and that I should have stayed to talk it out. Even my mom, who I told about the situation, said I could have stayed to keep the peace. I feel like I was ambushed and humiliated in front of everyone. Am I the a-hole for walking out instead of staying and addressing the issues? First things first, you're not the a-hole. Go ahead and block your stepmom. You don't have to watch your younger siblings, no matter the reason, whether it's work-related or not. What her parents think shouldn't matter, nor does the fact that you don't call her on Mother's Day. What I've learned about the whole keep the peace idea is that it usually means you need to be a doormat for others while putting your peace to the side. Exactly. OP is not a free babysitter and definitely doesn't owe her stepmom anything. They ambushed OP. Like, who even does that at a birthday dinner? It was all about her. You don't call me on Mother's Day. You don't babysit my kids for me. And at a birthday dinner in a fancy restaurant, no less. That should pretty much seal the deal on where this relationship is going. Sorry, OP. Not the a-hole. This was what, 6 or 7 people against 1? How is that supposed to be any sort of conversation where your side would be heard? It seems more like an intervention where your feelings are disregarded. There was no point in staying. The outcome was already predetermined. Talk to your dad and set boundaries for the relationship you want with him. If he isn't agreeable, then go no contact. By the way, few people acknowledge how emotionally costly it is to keep the peace. It's almost always a one-sided investment with little to no return. And the aggressor is never asked to keep the peace. They always ask the quieter person to appease the bully. No one ever tells the loud one to stand down. No, that sounds absolutely horrifying, traumatic, and humiliating. I'm so sorry they did that to you. It was a completely inappropriate way to address their feelings. I really hope you have access to mental health care and can talk to a counselor or a therapist to help you through this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my fiancé to cut 200 people from his guest list? I, 31 female, and my fiancé, 32 male, recently got engaged. We have started making our guest list as part of our wedding planning. My fiancé is a very social guy. He's been in the restaurant industry for 10 plus years and has made a lot of friends and business connections. On the other hand, you have me. I have a very small but close group of friends. I get overstimulated easily and have to prepare for big group interactions. Yet I usually can only last a few hours before I need to wander off and recharge a little. We made our first pass at the guest list. I have about 45 to 50 people on my list. This includes mutual friends and their plus ones. These are the people I can't see this day happening without. He made his list and has close to 400 people on it. This includes people he's met through business and wants to essentially shake hands and kiss babies with. I forgot to mention he is opening his own business soon. He said he will take another pass at the list and cut it down so we have 400 in total. The thought of this makes me physically ill. I want to be supportive and invite everyone he views as important to him, but there are a significant number of people on the list whom I have never even met. Some I haven't even heard of before seeing this list. For context, we've been together for 2.5 years. I also saw the names, and when I asked him who they were, he said, well, I was invited to their wedding 3+ years ago. Some people he only exchanges happy birthday with every year, and he says they need to be at the wedding. Again, I want to be supportive, but I have a hard time justifying paying $250+ per person for people I have never met, and whom he only says happy birthday to. I've tried explaining this to him, but I know we are both passionate people, and sometimes I have a hard time expressing how things make me feel. I don't want to sound like I don't care about his friends, but to me, some of his reasons for inviting people just seem childish or irrelevant. Ideally, I would like a wedding with 150 people. He wants closer to 500. I think I could handle 250 without having a full panic attack or meltdown. I don't want to sound like a diva, but the thought of being around 200 plus people I've never met and being the center of attention makes me want to crawl into a corner and hide. The last time I brought it up, he got really defensive and said I was making him feel like I don't care about the people who are important to him. I don't think that's the case. But am I the a-hole for wanting him to cut down from 400 people to 200? Now for the comments. Was the $250 per person a typo? That is way too much unless you come from royalty. Not the a-hole. He should understand that a wedding of that size will overwhelm you. Info. I married off my daughter 16 years ago. The cost was, if I remember correctly, $40 per plate, $1,000 for the rental of the hall, a country club, and she wanted a fancy cake that, if I recall correctly, was $400. We had 150 to 200 people, plus the bar tab. This was in southern Wisconsin, a medium-sized city. With the cost of food, bar, staff, venue, and rental equipment in today's market, $250 is about average per plate. The bigger the guest count, the more expensive the venue, due to the size and number of rooms needed to rent. Let him know that all these people he rarely sees are going to see this invite as gift grab and be turned off by it. Who is he trying to impress? Not the a-hole. He's treating your wedding as a network opportunity. To him, it's a soft lunch for his business with no regard for your feelings. I would be surprised if even half of the guests show up. I wouldn't attend someone's wedding if I hadn't seen them in 3 years. Same. I wouldn't go to a wedding where I don't know anyone or hardly know anyone. I don't like sitting through the ceremony and the dragged-out speeches, let alone covering the cost of presents/monetary gifts, hotel, travel, etc. Last story. Am I the a-hole for calling my sister ungrateful after she said I didn't do enough for her daughter? I, 38 female, and my sister, 37 female, have 3 kids, 10 male, 10 female, and 5 male. Her 10-year-old twins are in 5th grade. Her son, Rhodes, and her daughter, Lydia, are both going to middle school next year. My sister wanted them to attend a private middle school about 30 minutes away from us. It's a selective school, and incoming students need to take a test to be admitted. Rhodes and Lydia took the test a few weeks ago and just got their results back. Rhodes and Lydia have always had a massive academic achievement gap. I'm a teacher and haven't seen a gap this wide between siblings in my career. Rhodes can read, write, and do math several grades above the 5th grade level. My sister asked me to tutor both Rhodes and Lydia when they started kindergarten, and I've tutored them for free since then. Rhodes has always been naturally intelligent. School comes easy to him, and he puts in far less effort than Lydia or even most kids. I've had to bribe him with candy to do homework he can complete in 5 minutes because he'd rather be shooting hoops with his friends. Basketball is another thing that just comes naturally to him. Lydia, on the other hand, does not play sports. Lydia is several grades behind where she's supposed to be. My sister has had her and Rose tested for ADHD, autism, and other conditions, but nothing has come up positive. For some reason, no matter how hard Lydia tries, she struggles. She struggles with basic arithmetic and reading. To make matters worse, we can't force children to be held back, and my sister has refused to hold Lydia back, even though it's been recommended multiple times over the years. To give you an example of how stark the difference between the 2 kids is, for their reading logs, Rhodes is reading a nearly 500-page book on the history of college sports and seems to understand it well. Lydia, meanwhile, reads picture books meant for kindergarten and 1st grade. None of my colleagues at work have seen anything like this, such a stark difference between siblings, especially twins, even if they are fraternal. No surprise here, Rhodes got into the middle school but Lydia did not. My sister got angry at me when she found out, saying I didn't do enough for Lydia. I told her she was ungrateful and blamed her for passing Lydia on when she wasn't ready. She said I should have faith in Lydia and not agreed with teachers who have a vendetta against her that she should be held back. I told her that Rhodes is just naturally smarter and that she needs to accept it. She got mad at me and is now not answering my texts. Am I the a-hole? The tests don't lie. There's no reason why they can't go to different schools. You want to challenge Rhodes and allow him to excel, and you want to ensure Lydia has all the support she needs to do well. Since you were tutoring both of them, I'm just wondering how much farther behind Lydia would be if you hadn't been tutoring her. Absolutely. I can't help but wonder if all Lydia hears from her mother is how smart Rhodes is and how dumb she is. The best thing for Lydia would be to hold her back a grade before she gets to middle school. My sister wanted to hold my niece back a year in grade school, but the school refused. She happened to move to a different school system that summer, and when she enrolled my niece, she put her in the same grade she has just completed. That made a world of difference for her. OP, I assume that Lydia has been checked for dyslexia and other reading disorders, had her eyes examined, etc. I feel bad for Lydia having to compete in her mother's eyes with her much smarter brother. I hope things can turn around for her, not the a-hole. Honestly, it sounds like the mom is blaming teachers and her sister for her daughter not being successful in school. I don't think she berates her daughter. If anything, she's in denial about her abilities. Update. Am I the a-hole for insisting my brother's girlfriend proves she's pregnant or she has to move out? Original story. My female 20 brother 24 has been on and off with his girlfriend 27 for a couple of years now. It's been the same song and dance. They're happy for a few weeks, then something small happens, they argue, it gets really nasty, and they make up and back to being a loving couple. When I learned my brother got kicked out of his apartment and needed a place to stay, I offered him the extra room in my apartment, and my brother agreed to pay rent, help with the bills, and pitch in with food. For 3 months now, she's been announcing she's pregnant. She alone will eat a snack box with 50 small bags of chips in a week. I try to reason with her and get her to cut back. Not only from overeating, but she was running us low on food. But she insists she and the baby are healthy, and it's just cravings, blah blah blah. Since last month, most of what my parents sends to my house. My mom is a couponer, so she bulks shops and give away what she has too much of. My brother's girlfriend is the first to get into it, and a large portion of it is gone by a few days to a week. From a 24 case of Monster, the energy drink if you're not familiar, 8 will be gone in a week from just her. She eats a hell of a lot of food too, most of which no pregnant woman should be consuming so much of. And yes, I know all pregnancies are different, but words can't explain how much she eats in one sitting. So today I had seen her drinking coffee, and after her second cup I asked her if she should be drinking so much, and she said her doctor told her it was fine and she had no worries. When I suggested she take on a healthier diet for the baby, she just scoffed and walked out. I went and asked my brother if he's been to any of her doctor appointments or even seen a positive pregnancy test, and he said he didn't. I confronted her about it, and she said she didn't have to prove anything and started to get defensive. I told her she needed to show a test or some proof of going to the doctor, or she needs to move out if she doesn't help at all. My brother started defending her and changed his answer from not seeing any proof to seeing her pregnancy test. My parents got word of what I said, and my mom says I was in no place to say anything and every woman's body is different, and I wouldn't know since I've never been pregnant. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Kinda not the a-hole. Asking for proof is extreme, but she's also eating you out of house and home. Even if she's actually pregnant, she probably needs to find a place of her own and get herself her own food. Do you really want a family of 3 living with you when the mom and dad have a crap show of a relationship? Spoiler alert, you do not. Yeah, I see I was wrong for that. He said he only needed a few months to get back on their feet and to get his own place again. So I wasn't worried about them still living with me in the future. Except they haven't moved out, and depending on your lease, they could be considered tenants now, meaning you would have a hell of a hard time kicking them out. If she won't contribute financially, tell her she needs to buy her own groceries, or with your brother, and they're no longer allowed to eat your groceries at all. Not today home, and if your mother is so concerned, maybe she should house your brother and his girlfriend. She's the one that forced my brother to get his own apartment by kicking him out, because she was sick of their arguing. You're the a-hole. You don't need to know she's pregnant. Just say, you're eating all my food. I need you to start buying your own food or paying extra rent to cover it. Accusing someone of faking a pregnancy doesn't usually end well. And if she is, she can just fake a miscarriage, and you're still the a-hole. I know she's being ridiculous and it's hard to watch, but right now she's just looping you into a cycle of drama that she has with your brother. Don't tell pregnant women, or women pretending to be pregnant, what to eat or drink. In general, don't comment on what other people eat or drink at all. If the problem is that she's eating and drinking your food, the solution isn't to police her diet. It's to tell her to stop or make her pay for it. Edit. I did talk to her a while ago about getting a job as well as helping out financially, and she said she'd start and never has. Right, so based on majority of the comments, I overstepped, yes. But I'm going to go with my gut on this one and give them their 30 days notice and call it a day. I'll for sure update you guys in a month, when they're to be gone, and let you all who's interested know what's happened by then. I keep repeating myself, so let me add, my brother knows everything I've said. The excessive caffeine, no ultrasound, etc. Yes, my brother still buys her tampons monthly, and I know this because it goes with me when I buy mine. No, I was not faking concern about a coffee comment. She drinks 2 cups of coffee a day along with a Monster. That's a ton of caffeine. And now for the update. Okay, so I gave my brother and his girlfriend a 30 days notice. They were to leave this Friday, but as of last Friday, I have my place to myself again. Basically, they fed me a bunch of lies since I gave them the 30 days notice. First, it was she can't get an appointment or an ultrasound because of all of the COVID patients. Then brother's girlfriend shows me a sonogram picture of her phone that I later found on Google Images. He asked why it was on her phone, and she said it was emailed to her after her doctor's appointment that she couldn't get. Then my brother brought home baby clothes last week, to sell the lie, I guess, but they weren't clothes for a newborn. It was a lot of 9 to 12 months and 2 T's. When I asked him why none were proper clothes for newborns, he said, so he can grow into them. Was told she was pregnant with a girl. I didn't bother to ask any more questions because I knew it was going to be lies on top of lies. Then Friday got home to them arguing at each other's throats. Eventually I called the cops because they weren't letting up. At this point, they both had to come clean with the truth. Brother's truth. His girlfriend is the reason he was kicked out of his place. Then she needed a place to stay because her parents kicked her out. So she forced him to let her stay in my house by faking being pregnant. He said after the first month, he knew she wasn't pregnant because she got her period, but she forced him to keep up the lie so I'd let her stay. Girlfriend's truth. Brother invited her to stay at my place, and to make sure I wouldn't say no, he told her to fake a pregnancy and I'd be sympathetic. I won't go into detail, but I'm 100% certain that part she said was true, and I wouldn't question her using tampons as I'll make up a lie for her. She said he told her to eat up all of the food because it'll make it all seem legit. So that's about all. I'm still unsure who's telling the truth, but they both got all of their belongings and went their own way, I assume, so it's not my problem anymore. Great update. Glad you followed your feeling. You don't need a drama. It could have backfired. Luckily it didn't. Still sucks he used my past against me, but it is what it is. Can only move forward from here. Know what relationship you have with your brother. He sees no issue with lying to you for whatever profit. Keep that in mind, and take care. Thanks for the update. And obviously the trash took itself out now and you have your home back. And you know neither of them can ever be trusted. Right? Thank goodness Opie threw them out before it got to the miscarriage part of their story. So your brother and his girlfriend both admitted to lying to you. Who cares which one had idea first? In order to manipulate and take advantage of you? Yep, you're well rid of them. Let your mom know the situation so they can't try the same crap with her. Yeah, I came here to say this too. She was living with 2 manipulative liars. Doesn't really matter which one is better at coming up with stories. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for snapping at my wife and calling her selfish? I never loved my daughter. Not really. I always hated the idea of children, so me and my wife, but mostly me, were super careful. One way or the other though, she got pregnant. I know it happens sometimes, but my wife didn't want to get rid of the baby. We talked about it for a bit, but eventually we agreed to keep the baby because I didn't want to make her feel like she had to do something she didn't want to, especially with her child. So, boom, baby. Except after she had the baby, it didn't seem like she was taking care of her as much as she should have. Sometimes I would come home from work and the baby would be alone with my wife, nowhere to be seen. I didn't want the baby to live a life of being neglected. I'd have us never give her a chance of a good childhood, so I tried to take care of the baby when I could. Admittedly, I was very bad at it. I didn't know how to take care of a baby, which is something I should have begun researching when it was confirmed we were having the baby. I was also never really mentally prepared to care for a baby, as I had never wanted one, and, truth be told, really despised children and taking care of them. But regardless, I still try to take care of her when my wife wasn't around, which was a lot of time. Fast forward 15 years. My daughter is now 15 years old. I've taken care of this child, put her into school, spent money that I worked for on this kid that I never even wanted, for 15 years now. But my wife still seems to be absent for the child. One evening we were eating dinner, and my wife was talking about how good of a baby she raised. I snapped at her and told her that she had never raised this baby, and that she was selfish for pushing her choice on me. Everything got quiet after that, and we just sort of all left. I know that she was never present for our daughter, and I guess everything from the past years just boiled over. But mostly, I feel bad about saying it in front of my daughter. I don't want her to feel like she's responsible or blame herself for me and my wife's relationship. I want her to live a good life, and I don't want our conflict to ruin that for her. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. So you announced to your daughter that you never wanted her and that your wife forced her on you? You're the a-hole. Honestly, none of the rest of the context matters. This. He could have gotten the vasectomy if it was that big of a deal to him. Poor child is the only party not the a-hole here. Good grief, OP. I understand feeling resentful of your wife's absence, but you should have looked into resolving those issues years ago, rather than spewing them in front of your daughter. Edit. I'm not saying he should have gotten a vasectomy no matter what, but it was a potential option if he knew he despised children so much. Alternatively, he could have left the relationship when his wife decided to keep the baby. But since he decided to stay, he could have made an effort to alter his perception on children, rather than internalizing and spewing the same negativity towards them 15 years later. Everyone sucks here except your daughter. Poor child being told she was never wanted. Congrats, Dad. You've just ensured that she will need therapy for the rest of her life to get over the way you feel about her. Everyone sucks here, and you're the a-hole just for the weird attached way you talk about your child and how you resent her. Yikes. The two of you should have put her up for adoption, and at least given her a small chance of being loved. Also, what you said about your daughter being your wife's choice that she pushed on you is absolutely horrendous. I can't believe you said that in front of your daughter. I hope you've got money for therapy for your poor kid. She didn't ask for any of this. You all suck, except the child. I'm seeing a lot of put her up for adoption comments, but I wonder, did the wife who decided to keep the child he didn't want also decide to not allow the adoption for the child he didn't want but she wanted? And that she didn't even have to raise because he did it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that my brother is not welcome in my house? I don't think I've done something wrong here, but since most of my relatives say I am, I might as well take some further judgment to see if I'm doing something that I haven't realized yet. I'm engaged to a wonderful woman. We are both 25 years old. I've been with her since we were 18. It's been 7 years. And finally we're financially ready to move to our first house. Before we could make the decision to live together in our own place, she stayed over at my house for the past 2 years of the pandemic. We decided it would be best for her to save money for our future house instead of spending it on rent. Her parents also live in another state, so they're far away and she couldn't stay with them. We got engaged a bit before COVID hit, and been living in my house since. My brother sometimes lives in this house, but he's also got his own place. The house we're living in is my parents'. My brother is a very inappropriate person and never knows where to stop with his jokes. He's implied he's a better fit for my fiancée as a joke. He's flirted with her multiple times while she's visibly uncomfortable. And when I defend my fiancé and tell my brother to leave her alone, he makes fun of me for being insecure that he'll steal my girl. And my mother always justifies him and says he's just joking and I'm overreacting. Last week, during a fight my mom had with my brother basically owes money to my mom, and my mom simply said she wants the money back. She needs it. My brother then insulted my fiancé out of nowhere, telling my mom, if you need the money so much, go get them from that W your other son bangs, who stays rent-free in our house for the past 2 years, and she hasn't put a penny in it. I overheard him saying that, and we got in a huge fight. For the record, my fiancé helps a lot with the house, not only in housework but financially too. But due to the fact her paycheck is lower than mine, she gives less money than I do because she can't afford to give more. But she still helps, so my brother's claim is baseless. After some back and forth insults with my brother, he left and I told my mom he's not allowed to step a foot in my new house. Thankfully my fiancé was at work during that fight, so she didn't hear a thing. But I told my mom that him making my fiancé uncomfortable for 2 years straight was bad enough, but him calling her a W is the last straw, and he won't be allowed anywhere near her ever again. My mom, dad, and basically many of my aunts, uncles, and cousins found out about this, and claimed I'm the a-hole, and grateful for daring to ban my brother from my house, and how I should be ashamed to say that. Am I? Not an a-hole. Your house, your rules. Sounds like a dirtbag, to be honest. I hope you and your fiancé have a smooth move-in, and congrats on the new house. 2 years is a long time for your fiancé to endure that type of mistreatment in her own residence. You're the a-hole for not putting a stop to it from the very beginning. Like if that was me, the confrontation would have been loud and severe on day 1. Day 2, if he so much makes another flirt, yelling would ensue, and no contact until he shapes up and genuinely shows me changed. That would make that crap awkward as hell that it would freeze it. Grow a backbone, homie. At minimum, it will be your house. And if you don't want him there for any reason, that's your choice. He has continuously disrespected your fiancé and your relationship. No one would want to openly invite that into their house. First of all, you don't have to explain your girlfriend's finances at all. And I would put a stop to that the second he brings it up. Your brother took money from your mom, so he owes it. Nothing else going on in her life matters. Doesn't matter if she lets a million girls stay in her house for free. He owes your mom money and is deflecting responsibility. Your mom? She's an enabler who seems like nurtured this behavior. Even if he's the nicest guy in the world, you're allowed to have boundaries. You can't refuse to allow anyone in your home for any reason. Not only is he nasty to your girlfriend, he is a misogynist, nasty to your mom, a bad brother, and manipulative. People like that only wreak havoc in your life. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for buying my daughter a car for her birthday? My ex and I are divorced. My ex now has a new family, including a son with her new husband. They're 2 years apart, 18 and 16. They both live with my ex and her husband. So after buying my daughter a car for her birthday, my ex gave me a call to tell me that it wasn't fair to buy one kid a car but not the other, now that they both have their license. I can't really understand that perspective since he is not my son. He's hers. She told me that they're still siblings who live together, and now she has a car while he doesn't. She said they can't afford to get him one and that she can tell is jealous and it hurt him. She said she understood where it was coming from, but she still thought it was wrong to get one a car but not the other. I do feel for the kid even though he isn't my own, and his mother and father aren't as financially stable as myself. Edit. In the past, I've gotten him a gift for Christmas, PS5 and some games that my daughter picked out last year. Just because I know his parents can't afford it for Christmas, and I spent a lot on my daughter. And my justification for it was that I didn't want him to feel left out. So I think that's where she got the idea from. So that's my fault. I let his mom give it to him as if they had bought it, just so that it didn't make things between my ex and her new husband awkward. Not today, home. Just because your ex wants equality between her bio kid and his step kid, doesn't mean you can't buy nice gifts for your bio kid. Ex's other kid is not your relation. You didn't do this to make the other kid feel bad. He just has no relation to you. You did a nice thing for your daughter, that's the be-all end-all. What does your ex want? You to include her step kid in your inheritance? When does this end? Can you no longer buy nice things for your own daughter? From your ex's response, I can understand why she's an ex. Utterly unreasonable and clueless with it to try to make this your problem. I think she reacted the way she did, since last year I bought her son a PS5 and some games, upon my daughter's suggestion, for Christmas, so that he wouldn't felt left out when he got my daughter more expensive gifts than his parents would be giving him. So I sort of set the standard. Not today, home. Not your kid. Not your financial concern. I want a car too at his age. Guess what? I work jobs to save up for one. Either his parents or himself can do that. Can't stand entitled people trying to push your limit just because you were generous with past gifts. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that she's the cause of all my brother's problems? Original story. I, 33 female, have a sister, 30 female, and a little brother, 17 male. My mom, single mother, our parents divorced when she was still pregnant with my brother, was a wonderful mother to both me and my sister. However, she switched up incredibly while raising my brother. So much to the point that I offered to raise my brother instead. So my brother, who is now a junior in high school, has self-esteem issues, especially related to how he looks/weighs. He was a chubby baby, and my mom used to say negative things to him all the time, which I guess kind of ruined his self-esteem. My sister and I always called him cute, handsome, etc., but obviously our mother's words had a bigger effect on him. To put it in perspective for you guys, He is 6'1", underweight, objectively a good-looking kid, yet still finds himself ugly and/or fat. I, a 5'8" woman, weigh more than him, and I'm at a healthy weight. Anyways, despite everything, he's still a cheerful and talkative kid who really does love our mother, and this makes me 10 times angrier. Now on to the problem. I made a mess in the kitchen yesterday while doing a little baking, and accidentally fell asleep on the couch due to exhaustion and forgot to clean up. My mom saw the mess and started screaming at my brother, and my brother said that he'd clean it up and that he was sorry. He basically admitted to doing something he didn't do. And when I found out, I immediately told my mom it was my fault, but she said that it was fine. I asked her to apologize to him, but she said that he was a man and that she doesn't need to. I got mad and told her that if she kept this up, then her son will end up doing something drastic. She said that she wasn't doing anything, and I said something along the lines of, "Seriously? You're literally the cause of all these problems." I also called her a terrible mother. She got mad. She said I didn't go through all this crap for my own daughter to take a boy's side of her own mother's. She made a lot of gender-based comments like, "You're a girl, you should take my side," and "He's a boy, he deserves it," etc. Then she went to her room and slept. Honestly, I'm just confused now. Also, while I don't regret standing up for my brother, I feel like maybe I shouldn't have blamed her for all these issues since it's a pretty big accusation and she's obviously hurt. I'm thinking I should have been more mature. Plus, she wasn't a bad mother to me or my sister, so maybe that wasn't called for too. But yeah, am I the a-hole for blaming my mother for all of my brother's problems? Now for the top comments before reading the update. She sounds misandrous as hell. Does he happen to look like his father? Not the a-hole at all. I would talk with your brother and try to be his shoulder. Your mom is completely messing him up, and it's maybe too late to undo all her damage. Edit. I'm not implying he's beyond hope of healing, just that it's going to leave scars. So the quicker you help him start healing, the better. We're actually mixed. Our dad is East Asian, mom is white. It looks more Asian than my sister and I, so yes, it does look more like our dad in a way. The fact that it might be too late, that's what I'm terrified about. I'll still try and be his shoulder though. Thanks. I don't mean to imply that it's beyond hope, only it will most likely stay with him to some degree. My heart broke reading your post. I hope you can build up his confidence and lead him to reject her BS that he seems to have accepted and internalized. Edited to add, did mom not initiate divorce? Seems to me she may have unresolved feelings and is taking them out on your brother. Pure speculation on my part though. Not a-hole. Wow, that is some mistreatment there to your brother. Your mom has really bad toxic, sexist anger issues. And if it is in regard to your father, then it is quite messed up that she's taking it out on your brother who is his own person. He's not her former partner. He is her child. I am sorry, but she's abusive and punishing him for his gender. Mistreatment. No excuse, plain and simple. So yes, based on the information presented, she is a bad mother and the cause of his low self-esteem. Not a-hole. Sounds like your mother is a sexist who's taking things out on your brother because he's not female. Wow, you're not a-hole, but your mom surely is. Boys need to be loved and nurtured too. It breaks my heart to hear that she thinks he doesn't deserve an apology just because he's a man. He's still a child. She's an adult. She should know better, and your brother deserves an apology. It's great that you're standing up for him. He needs a good support system. And now for the update. So, nobody really asked for an update, but I'm a bit bored and thought, why not? First off, I'd like to say that after reading your replies, I think the reason why my mom is horrible towards my brother is a mix of him looking like my dad and him being a boy. But I don't know for sure. A bit after I made the post, I went to talk to my brother who was in his room. He was fine, but when I asked him to tell me how he felt about, well, everything, he broke down. My heart broke into a million pieces. At that moment, I knew that he couldn't stay with our mother anymore. So I called my boyfriend of 5 years and asked him if my brother and I could move in for a bit. He has the space, and my brother gets along with him, so he agreed. My mom didn't give a damn. She didn't even say goodbye to him. She asked me if I could stay, but completely ignored my brother's presence. I tried my hardest to stay calm and not shout at her for it, but the way she was acting was so mean. According to my sister, my mother still makes mean comments about my brother even though he's not there. So staying calm is really hard right now. Anyways, I called my dad as well and basically told him everything. He was a bit angry at first because nobody told him this before, and he wouldn't have left any of us in a different country had he known. But he calmed down and talked to my brother for like over an hour, and by the time he hung up, my brother had tears of joy and relief in his eyes. It's still unclear whether my dad will be visiting or if my brother will be moving, or how we're going to proceed from now on due to you know what. But I can assure you that my mother won't be able to say anything to my brother again. Unfortunately, I am unable to put my brother into therapy because I don't have a lot of money on me. But I will try and talk to one of my friends who is pretty knowledgeable in the mental health department and see if I can help my brother. Thanks to everyone who gave their 2 cents. Hey, I'm happy that you got him out of the toxic environment. If you're in the USA, you can apply for medical assistance since your brother has no income. And depending on your age, you might be able to apply for assistance or even get child support from your so-called mom. Especially if she is getting child support from your father. Hopping on this comment to say there's centers in the US that offer therapy for as little as $15 a session. Typically, you'll be getting someone who is in training to complete their certification or however it goes, but they're typically watched over by an experienced therapist. You can also get therapy through a school, although this may not be the greatest option if OP doesn't have legal custody. Thank you for posting the update. Your brother is lucky to have you. Thank you for your kind words. I'd say I'm lucky to have that kid as my little brother. A lot of us, mistreated as kids, struggle because no one stood up for us, ever. Your brother will have a long way to go and undoubtedly it messed him up, but you have made sure that's one last point on the long list of trauma this treatment can create. Her brother is lucky to have her. I had to get out of this situation alone and against my family's advice. I went back to my dad's and don't regret it one bit. I'm very sorry about your situation. I can't do much, but I hope you will find peace. I don't know if you're religious, but I'll keep you and every other person who hasn't been able to get out of a horrible situation in my prayers. Thank you. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister it's too late to keep entertaining the lie about her daughter's paternity? My sister is bisexual, and 22 years ago her and her girlfriend at the time were trying to have a baby. No sperm bank would take 2 broke college students seriously, so they decided to separately hook up with 2 different guys they would meet at a bar. At the time, I thought the idea was so stupid, but they didn't really care. My sister got pregnant, her girlfriend didn't. They both raised the baby until she turned 2 when they broke up. Ever since, my sister has been raising her alone until she got remarried to her husband when my niece was 10. My sister doesn't identify as gay anymore and calls that a phase and refuses to talk about it. My parents were ashamed of it and were happy that she turned straight. My sister made me swear we would tell her daughter that her father and my sister dated and were together for a while, but broke up when he moved to a different state, and that he never wanted to be a father. That was her story. I was 16 when all this was happening, so I didn't really think much of it. My niece is now 22 and is planning on taking a 23andMe test to find her dad. My sister gave her a fake name. She doesn't remember the name of the guy she slept with. So her lies are about to come unraveling because obviously the guy has a different name. And if my niece speaks to him, he'll obviously confirm my sister was a one-night stand and they didn't date for years. My sister plans to tell her daughter is lying and was ashamed because he had a girlfriend from her, and that's how she's going to explain it off to her daughter. But I think it's too late to keep lying. I think it's because her husband is conservative and wouldn't accept her seriously dating a woman, planning a baby with her, and even naming my niece after her girlfriend's deceased mother. My sister says I'm an a-hole for not wanting to back her up after keeping her alive for all of these years. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole, but I'd stay as far away as possible from this big ol' bomb. Why can't she just say she had a one-night stand for fun, and 9 months later, their niece was? That's not even a lie. She doesn't have to talk about the relationship she was actually in if she doesn't want to. I'm suspecting some conservative/religious beliefs from the sister and husband. Usually when you deny having casual flings and being LGBT, these are usually in the mix. Not an a-hole.
The problem with lies is you have to keep telling more lies to cover up the existing lies. Your niece will find the truth and be pissed at your sister for all the lies. She'll be mad at OP too for going along with it. There's a highlighted post below which spells it out nicely what OP should say to the niece. She needs to know. And doing it now will possibly salvage their relationship. Whereas if OP waits and it comes out later that OP knew, the niece might go no contact with everyone involved. Well, I don't think you're the a-hole necessarily, but why are you hell-bent on putting your head in? I would back way off even if you disagree. When you have your own kids, you can screw them up however you like, but your niece isn't your daughter. If the niece asks you, refer her back to her mother. The niece is a grown-up and will figure it out. And let's say a silent prayer for the biological father who probably doesn't know she ever existed and is about to get his life blown up. I really don't like your sister. How would you feel if you found out you had a 23-year-old you never knew about? Agree with us? Not today, Hall, for your opinion and not agreeing to lie for her. But I think you're just going to have to sit back and watch this play out. Don't confirm or deny. Just say it's not your place or you will be the a-hole. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for recording my kid and proving that he's playing my ex and I? Our son 5 has been having nightmares for the past few months. He'd wake up crying every night, and it was pretty distressing. We got him into therapy, but it didn't seem to be helping. I got a little suspicious after a month. I'd hear him walking around in his room an hour or so before he'd start crying, but when I got up there, he'd be back in bed. I brought it up with his mom, but she just said he'd started sleepwalking, and when he woke up, got back into bed because he knew he wasn't supposed to be up. It made sense, so I left it. Now, the way we deal with his nightmares is very different. She'll get up, make him a bottle, sometimes run him a bath, get him into fresh clothes, and then put him in her bed. She also has started giving him his pacifier back. I soothe him and get him back into bed. I'll get him a bottle if he asks, but otherwise I'm just intent on both of us getting a good night's sleep. He became resistant to my method a few weeks ago, and would instead scream for his mom. The first couple of nights I put him in my bed and slept on a couch, but the third night I called my ex to come and get him. It worked pretty much like that every night. This week I put up the old baby cams in his room. He used to have it on a fixture above his crib, so it wasn't too difficult. Lo and behold, he woke up, completely fine, and started playing with his toys. After about 40 minutes, he quietly put them all away, got back into bed, and started crying. Like usual. I sorted him out, got him into my bed, and the next day I called my ex to tell her about it. She didn't say much regarding the situation, bar telling me we'd bring it up on therapy. She was pretty angry though, saying I had violated our son's privacy, and she no longer felt comfortable letting him stay the night. I told her she was being ridiculous. She grabbed a kiddo and left. The next day in therapy, I naturally brought it up. Again, my ex diverted the conversation and we essentially wound up arguing. We left and headed back to mine. After a little while, she said that it didn't matter that he was acting up. He clearly needed more attention and love, and I was trying to make him seem like a bad kid. I told her that wasn't the truth, but we need to take steps to punish him for lying. Lying is bad, and he shouldn't do it. She's still angry, and so not much got through to her. A mutual friend agreed that I was in the wrong, and should spoke to his mom regarding it before. And I kind of get where they're coming from, but I still think it's an we all suck situation rather than just me. Am I the a-hole? I don't know. Clearly he is acting out for some reason and may need some correction, but I am more shocked you and your ex give a 5-year-old, a school-aged child, a bottle. And the ex started giving him a pacifier too. I'm just going to copy and paste this explanation, lol. He's really bad with drinking slowly and swallowing. At night he's still on a bottle as it's hard for him to choke on it. During the day we're still teaching him to drink and chew slowly. And his pediatrician knows this and has given you guys a number for an occupational therapist, right? He knows, and it's not a therapy thing. He was with an occupational therapist for a while, but we stopped going with COVID. We may start up again, but it was honestly just costing us a lot of money and he wasn't getting any better. I don't see this as a violation of privacy, but as gathering more information to bring to the expert, the therapist, for all of you to get on the same page to try to help your son overcome this trauma. Strictly from an outside, non-expert opinion, I'd worry that your ex's response might actually be increasing his nightmare crying episodes. But either way, he is waking up and acting out in distress, and that is what you all need to be focusing on. No a-holes here. I am worried about that too, but I do intend on getting him the help he needs. Update: am I the a-hole for telling my friend her boyfriend is not allowed at my wedding? Anyway, I'm supposed to be getting married early October 2022. It's not gonna be a big wedding or anything, but me and my fiance both have friends that we don't want to leave out. I have this friend, Amanda. We have known each other since high school and we aren't incredibly close by any means, but we are still somewhat good friends and hang out regularly, and I would like her to be there. The problem is, I just recently found out who she is dating now, and she wants to bring him as her +1. My sister Lily and her ex Steve broke up about 10 months ago because she found out he was cheating. She was heartbroken, and I know along with that pain she still has a lot of resentment for him, and doesn't even like hearing his name. He was an awful boyfriend, so my family has no problem with him no longer being in our lives. Then 8 months ago, Amanda told me she had started talking to someone and she really liked him and everything. She wouldn't tell me who, not even his name, because she said she didn't want to share anything about him till it got more serious. I didn't really understand his secrecy, but it didn't force her to tell me anything, and just let her know I was happy for her and hope it all worked out. Well, last week she told me she was dating Steve. They had gotten more serious, and she wanted to make their relationship public to the people they care about. She also said she knew how much I disliked him and what he had done to my sister, and hoped I would try to understand their love and be happy for her and try to see him in a different light. I was a little shocked at first, since I really didn't expect her to be with a guy like him, and she knew what kind of person and boyfriend he was. But it isn't my place, and I told her that I'm happy she's happy, and that was that. Well, 2 days later, we are texting about the wedding and everything, and she mentioned Steve being her +1. I do not want him there. Not only because I know my sister, who's my maid of honor, doesn't want him there, but also because I don't like him and neither does my fiancé. I immediately told her that Steve was not invited to the wedding. She was confused, and I explained to her that I was sorry and I'm happy for her, but I didn't want him there. At first, she thought it was just because my sister would be, and kept saying that they wouldn't even be near each other and it would be fine. But then I explained that with everything that happened, we didn't want him there. I said sorry again, but she kept saying how I don't want her to be happy, how I just want to live in the past, how I want to punish her for finding love, stuff like that. None of that is true, and I tried to tell her that, but she stopped responding. So now I'm left feeling like a complete a-hole, and I don't know if I should just let Steve come or not. Now let's read the comments before the updates. Not the a-hole. She wants to bring the guy that cheated on your sister, a person that you are very close to and is in a wedding party, to your wedding? I think you're in the clear here. I can almost guarantee she didn't start talking to him 8 months ago either. 10,000% this. Hence the BS secrecy. I assume Steve was cheating with her when he was with your sister. But how the heck would they not be near each other in the same venue? Your wedding is not a platform for their crappy coming out. And invite her and don't think twice about it. Enjoy your beautiful drama-free wedding, guilt-free. If it ends your pseudo-friendship, so be it. She sounds a bit unhinged anyway. Your wedding is not a platform for their crappy coming out. This is the thing. Amanda and Steve are hoping to use the wedding as their way to reintegrate into the OP social circle and make OP's sister the bad guy for any lingering resentment. So tacky. Just uninvite Amanda kindly and directly. I am happy if you're happy. But you did choose a partner who has a bad history with my sister, who is very important to me. It's simply not possible for Steve to ever attend a wedding. I don't want him there. It's not up for debate. I think it's best if you don't come either. You're not the a-hole. P.S. You know Steve had Amanda on the line while he was with your sister, right? Even if she's not the other woman, she's the one he monkey branched to right after your sister dumped him. So he was, at least, laying the groundwork with chats, etc. Now for the first update.
First of all, I want to thank everyone so much for commenting and giving judgment. I know I haven't replied to everyone, but I tried to give any extra info that was asked for or relevant, though I am sorry if I didn't reply to you. Now, as I have mentioned in the comments, I had a lapse in my judgment and that's what led to this post. I thought maybe I was seeing things simply for my distaste for Steve, and it was coming off as I wasn't supportive of Amanda, and that's what made me think I was wrong for not allowing him to come. But I see now. I am completely in the right to not have or want him there, so he will not be invited and that won't be changing. With Amanda, I have pretty much decided that she is no longer invited to my wedding and I'm pretty sure I'm ending the friendship. But I wanted to sit down with her and have a conversation first. Not to salvage anything, but I have some things to say to her and questions to ask. With the cheating, I mentioned in the comments that we only know of 3 girls Steve cheated with. We all believe there are more, especially since one of the affairs goes all the way back to a year. They were together for 2, but we don't know for sure and have no solid evidence at the moment, and Lily doesn't care to find any. Amanda could very well be one of the unknown affair partners. It's very likely, and the timing and secrecy make more sense to believe she was. Even though I intend to end this friendship, and I'm finding it hard to believe that Steve wasn't cheating with her. It would still suck if she had been. Another thing I mentioned in the comments was that Amanda had offered support to my sister when everything happened. She even said more than once that Steve was an a-hole for hurting Lily, and for that to most likely had been an act would suck. I would also like to clear up something about Amanda and her wanting to make their relationship public. Right after she told me they were dating, she started posting them off social media and telling people, so my wedding wouldn't really be their coming out event. Though it would definitely be a way for them to show off their relationship and gloats and everything. Still not okay, but just wanted to clear it up and not mislead anyone. Last thing, I was finally able to get a response out of Amanda. I told her I would like to talk to her about everything and get everything out in the open, and she has agreed to meet me and talk. So I shall update when that happens. For the second update, I wasn't sure if it would be better to post an update here or to make a separate post, so I hope posting here is okay. Also, sorry for the wait. I was finally able to sit down with Amanda and talk today. Anyways, on to what happened. I didn't really want Amanda coming to my house, so we met at the small cafe place near where we live. I figured it wouldn't be too crowded and we would be able to have a discussion easily there, so it was the best option. She was there first, and as soon as I sat down, she looked extremely smug. It seems that she thought I had wanted to talk to apologize or something, and thought I would be telling her Steve was invited to the wedding. Imagine her surprise when I almost immediately tell her that Steve is in no way allowed to attend, and I have officially decided to rescind her invite as well. She was instantly angry, asking why I would do that when I was obviously in the wrong. Why would I uninvite her simply because she wanted her partner there, etc.? BS like that, lol. I let her rant for a minute before I calmly told her what I wanted to say. I told her that my family and literally everyone important to me that would be at the wedding did not like Steve. No one but her wanted him there, and multiple people would be uncomfortable if he was. I also told her it was my wedding and me and my fiancé are the only 2 people who gets to decide who comes and who doesn't. I was clear that she was allowed to want her boyfriend there, but I wasn't obligated to cater to her wants, especially when that's someone I didn't like at all. I even told her that if she had just decided not to come at first since he couldn't, I would have understood, but she tried to guilt me into inviting someone who wasn't wanted, so that's why she was no longer wanted. I told her how her actions made me feel and how I now perceived her. It made it clear I wanted to end our friendship and stop our contact. She was furious through every word. Before I ended the conversation, I told her that I had a question and I wanted a complete truth. Honestly, I wasn't sure if I would get it though. And I asked her point blank, was she with Steve before he and Lily split? She got nervous, wouldn't even make eye contact, and stayed silent for a few seconds. I figured that told me what I wanted to know, but I honestly wanted to hear her say it. Then she did. She told me that they have been together for a year total. They started sleeping together when Steve and Lily got into an argument, and Amanda started falling for him, so thought being his mistress was better than not having him at all. At first, he would only go to her when Lily and him fought, but then he started going to her whenever Lily was busy, or his other girls were.
She didn't feel sorry about it at all and kept trying to justify her actions. She even tried to justify her ability to look my sister in the eyes, to comfort her, all that even though she was hooking up with Steve for so long. She really thinks she did the right thing just because she loves him. At one point she said that they really were in love, and she was the only one in his life now. I felt bad for her then, I admit, but that's not my problem. I got up, I walked out, and I drove straight to my sister's where I am now. Told her what I had learned, and we are having a very fun girls' night with ice cream, alcohol, and movies. Amanda and Steve are no longer my concern, and I have decided to enjoy the stress-free time while I've got it, because I know I'm gonna be stressed the closer the wedding day gets. Thank you to everyone who commented. You were all right about the cheating and everything, and I'm extremely thankful for y'all opening my eyes. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister to be a groomswoman? So, my 25 male, fiancé 24 female has never gotten along with my sister, 18 female. My fiancé has never liked how close I am with my sister, and it has been a cause of few arguments. I proposed to fiancé Sarah a few months ago and things have been going smoothly. In fact, I would say our relationship has never been better. A few days ago, Sarah listed off to me all of the people she wanted as bridesmaids, and not surprisingly, my sister was not one of them. She said she was planning on asking them in a few more months to be in our wedding. Sarah then asked me if I knew who I wanted as groomsmen. I listed off a couple friends that Sarah knew, Keegan, Joe, Sammy, etc. And then I said I wanted my sister to be one of my groomsmen. This made Sarah upset. She said that it wasn't traditional for a woman to be a groomsman, and that it would embarrass her. I explained to her that my sister was one of the most important people in my life, and she was going to be part of our wedding. This made Sarah even more upset, and she accused me of trying to ruin her wedding day. And she locked herself in the bathroom. It's been a few days since this, and we haven't spoken at all. Many of her family members have reached out to me and asked me not to include my sister in the wedding at all, and that Sarah should be the most important woman in my life, not my sister. My mother-in-law even called me telling me that I was making Sarah depressed, and that I was a horrible person for doing this to my future wife. My sister heard about all of this and told me that it was okay to not invite her. I stood my ground and told all of them that my sister would be included no matter what. Am I the a-hole for doing so? Edit. Sarah's dislike stems from her walking in on my sister and I cuddling. Sister had her head on my shoulder and my arm was wrapped around her, which made Sarah upset. My sister is aromantic and told me when she first came out that she would most likely never get married, and that made her sad. I told her she could be part of my wedding, even if it wasn't the same thing, and I will never forget the look of joy in my sister's face. This is why I won't back down, for those wondering. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Info: why would you want to marry someone who is not only jealous of your little sister, but also seemingly implying that your relationship with her is inappropriate? Absolutely not, the a-hole. You sound like a great big brother. I'm sorry you're going through this. We had argued about it before, but it had been forgotten about until this instance. I will probably be calling my engagement off after reading everyone's advice. I'd also like to say, I really don't like the fact your fiancé said her wedding. Is she marrying herself? Because last I checked, it was your wedding too, and I don't see why she feels it's her right to ruin your wedding day. That's exactly what I thought when I read that line. I had a friend that was engaged and wanted every detail her way regardless of what the groom thought. She tried to convince me to tell him that weddings are all about the bride and only the bride. She was not happy at all when I told her she was crazy, that it was his wedding too and that he should have equal say in their day. They never did get married, and he's deceased now, so not gonna happen. She still refers to herself as a widow though. Your future bride views your sister, who is just barely of legal age by the way, as a sexual rival. Let that sink in, because it's sick. It has sunk in, and it disgusts me. I'm planning on calling off the engagement. Edit. I'm planning on calling off the engagement with Sarah when I get home from work. My sister is more important to me than my miserable marriage. I will be home around 8, so look out for an update around then.
And now for the update. Hello guys, this is gonna be a little long, so be patient with me. I got home from work and I told Sarah we need to talk. She agreed and we sat down in the living room. I started off by asking her why she had such a problem with my sister being a groomsman. And also, as many of you suggested, if she had been assaulted or had any trauma related to that. Sarah told me that she hadn't. She went on to say that having sister as a groomsman was untraditional. She said, men are groomsmen, women are bridesmaids. Sarah also said she was uncomfortable with how close I was with sister. I asked her to elaborate on this, and Sarah implied that we had more than a sibling relationship. She said cuddling between siblings was something she had never seen, and that it just didn't seem like something normal siblings did. I assured Sarah that nothing like that was happening, but she just didn't seem like she wanted to accept that, and it just led to more arguing. I gave Sarah an ultimatum. We could go to couples therapy, she could try to repair her relationship with my sister, and tell her family to stop guilting me, or we were going to have to call off the engagement. Sarah blew up at me and said she was going to stay with her mother. Family-in-law is now completely pissed at me and are sending me hateful messages on Facebook. Lol. So I guess that's most likely the end of Sarah and I. But to wrap things up on a good note, sister is planning on moving in with me. Her mental health was drained from this, so we decided to move in together. Thank you everyone for sticking through this with me. I appreciate all the kind messages. I ended up showing sister some of them, and she was very delighted. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for assuming I'd be a bridesmaid at a friend's wedding when I'm not even invited? I'm really good friends with the sister of my ex-boyfriend, Marina. Marina's getting married in December, and as a friend, I assumed I'd be considered as a bridesmaid or at least be invited. I was excited to talk all plans with her about the wedding. When she announced the wedding and posted the dates on Facebook and Instagram, I replied to her stories and I texted her, "Girl, finally! Should we get on the bridesmaid's dress shopping?" She then immediately video called me. She told me she's excited about the wedding, but sadly I won't be a bridesmaid. I was surprised, considering we've been really good friends. I asked her why, and she told me that she doesn't owe an explanation to me. I insisted because as a friend I think I'm at least owed an explanation about that decision, and I'll respect it. She said it's because her brother's, aka my ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, is going to be a bridesmaid, so it'd be very uncomfortable for the ex to be there as well. She also told me I'm overall not invited at all because my ex is uncomfortable with my presence, and she doesn't want to make her brother and his partner uncomfortable and wants this to be a pleasant experience for them. I tried to be understanding, I really do, but I told her how ridiculous it is that she's not inviting me because of her brother's discomfort and his girlfriend's insecurities and possible jealousy. She implied I'm an a-hole for assuming I'd be a bridesmaid in the first place, since she never made her intentions clear on whether I'd even be invited, and that I don't get to judge her choices. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. I texted her, "Girl, finally. Should we get on to bridesmaid's dress shopping?" That's not normal. Who assumes they're a bridesmaid and doesn't even wait to be asked? She isn't being ridiculous, you are. Of course her brother comes ahead of you. Man, I didn't even assume I was gonna be one at my best friend's wedding. I waited for her to tell me. I certainly didn't text her about dress shopping randomly without confirmation. You're the a-hole, assuming to be a bridesmaid, hounding her for a reason when it's clear why she doesn't want you as bridesmaid, whining about her brother and his girlfriend when most people don't like seeing their exes regardless of feelings. It is pretty standard for exes to be kept out of family functions. Seriously, someone's wedding is supposed to be a pleasant experience for them, and if that means you're not invited, then that's that. You should be happy for your friend rather than adding more unnecessary stress to her plate. You're the a-hole, OP. You're the a-hole. I don't find it odd at all that she would take her brother's feelings into account before yours. You should never just assume you'll be a bridesmaid. That puts everyone in a very awkward position.